There's an anime that I don't really talk about that much. Like, of all the shows that I've watched, this one's always dodging my conversations. But I don't really know why. Because the more that I think about it, the more I realize it's genuinely one of my favorite series. So, I'm finally breaking that mold. I'm going to talk about Odd Taxi. Released in April of 2021 and produced by OLM, the studio behind pretty much every monster battle shonen from your childhood, Odd Taxi was both critically and financially a success. It was up in the running for Anime of the Year for multiple outlets, including their Crunchyroll Awards, where it took home Best Protagonist, Best Director, and was nominated for 8 other awards, tying for second most nominations with Attack on Titan: The Final Season Part 1. Oh my god, I am so glad that show's over because now we don't have to deal with that fucking titling bullshit. Attack on Titan, The Final Season Part 1, The Beginning of the End, Prologue First Half, Episode... No, fuck, stay on task. The show was successful enough to spawn a movie, a sequel manga, a light novel, and a song by one of the actors from their character's perspective. They went pretty hard in the marketing for the show. There was a Twitter account that cropped up way before the release of the show, and they even tweeted a tweet that one of the characters makes in the show. They had an audio drama based on scenes from each episode being uploaded to YouTube, and a gacha game on their website. There's also been a little campaign they've been running where you bet on boat racing? I don't know why. What does this show have to do with boats? I don't get it. Now, this show may seem tame just from the title or even some screenshots, but it's actually pretty mature. The main focus of the story is about a missing persons case, and a lot of the characters end up in more intense or intimate situations. Also, the twists and turns are just really dire. I'll get into that here, but of course, heed my warning. There will be spoilers. Go watch the show. Before I delve into the story and why I like it so much, I want to talk about the opening sequence first. I'm going to start doing this for my series analysis videos because they're just so important to my viewing experience. This intro just oozes with life and style and freshness. The simplified version of the already simple style just looks so striking, and especially with the constant jitter effect going on. And then into the verse with all the character shots, we really get to see this construction paper look in full motion. And not to forget the chill lo-fi hip-hop single from Pumpy and Skirt. The music in this show is just so memorable in general, especially any scene with Tanaka. It just scratches your ear in the perfect way.
You're the one who conned me out of 100,000 yen 16 years ago! Since then, my life has fallen completely apart, and it's all your fault!
I know you don't have any bullets left. Don't try to act tough.
There's also plenty of foreshadowing and little references in here, which just makes for a really good intro. You know, you discover while you watch. It's great. On top of that, the full music video for the song is really cool. It all takes place in the main character's taxi, with the singers going through Japan, seeing a bunch of references to characters as they drive by. And by the end, they end up leaving this pen in the backseat of the car. This is important because not only is it seen in every episode of the show, it's a bugged pen that records everything, which is where the audio drama comes from. It really is such an intricate and involved story that grows beyond the short string of episodes I'm really here to talk about. Speaking of, let me talk about the story for a second. Episode 1 is honestly the biggest hurdle to get over. You know, you gotta plant all the seeds before they grow. The story revolves around the main character, a walrus taxi driver named Otokawa. But, of course, he's definitely not the only part of the puzzle. You've got Kakihana, a gibbon, Kabasawa, a young hippo, Shirakawa, the alpaca nurse, Garuki, the gorilla, the Daimon brothers, Koshiro. There's a lot of characters. The main through line for this story is that there's a girl, a young black cat that's gone missing. All of the characters in some way step into that plotline at some point, but they also focus on their own stories. Goroki wants to help Otokawa's mysterious condition, Kakihana is trying to find love, Kabasawa wants to go viral, and so on. One of our first story branches we dive down comes in at the end of the first episode when Kenshiro ends up searching Otokawa's cab for information on the missing girl. He takes footage from Otokawa's camera and later gives it to a criminal named Dobu. This scene, coupled with the scene earlier where our main character is talking to a closet, really sets up your expectations that this walrus is some weird kidnapper serial killer type guy.
You can run away whenever you like. I haven't trapped you here or tied you up in any way. Now you won't be able to escape.
They believe roughly a month has passed since her demise.
Oh right, they also introduced the Homo sapiens, a radio duo who aren't that good at being funny. That's not a dig at the show, genuinely that's how they're set up. There's a lot going on, and I haven't really even scratched the surface of everything that they plant in the first episode here, so like I said, go watch it. Because once it gets going, it's just so easy to invest yourself in the story. You know, I've been listing off a bunch of characters, but like, I forgot just how many there are. There are almost 20 characters that are constantly changing, living, and affecting the plot throughout this 13-episode series. And all of them end up interacting in some really odd ways. I'm going to speedrun all these characters in less than a minute just to put into perspective how much this show goes for. Wish me luck. You've got Kabasawa, a college student looking to go viral by becoming a vigilante trying to put a stop to a big criminal, much like the little Daimon brother Koshiro who hates evil. The criminal they hate the most is Dobu, who Big Daimon, Kenshiro, has a buddy-buddy connection with. Dobu has another connection with a nurse named Shirakawa, albeit not a friendly one. Shirakawa works for Goroki, Odokawa's practitioner and friend. They both have another friend, Kakihana, who forms a deceitful relationship with Ichimura, an idol. This girl is part of a group named Mystery Kiss, who is run by this fox named Yamamoto. There are two other girls in this group, Mitsuya, who is a whole bunch of fuck shit, I'll get to her in a second, and Nikaido, the lead. Nikaido is in a relationship with Baba, who is part of a comedy duo with Shibagaki named Homo Sapiens. Shibagaki works at a cabaret club where an unhinged Tanaka ends up doing something really bad there that I don't want to say. I think YouTube will be pretty angry with that one. Also, I feel like it's been over a minute. Fuck. Imai also works at the club, and he's Mystery Kiss's biggest fan. He ends up winning the lottery at some point, and criminal Yano schemes to steal that from him with the help of his right-hand bodyguard Sakaguchi, both of whom work for Kuroda, who has a mysterious connection with Odokawa, our main character. Odokawa gives Kabasawa a ride in his taxi, where he ends up in a selfie that sets off the chain of dominoes that is the rest of the series. And there you have it, a complete circle. But that's not even taking into account all the scenes and connections that each of these characters have with each other. The amount of interlocking story here is just so impressive. Know what else is impressive? The designs. Sorry, I just wanted to shout this out real quick. The character designs are like really good. There's an ANN interview with the director of the show where he talks about some behind the scenes of it, but one of the sections that really stood out to me the most was about the character designs. Right from the initial pitch document stage, we decided on making it about animals. We wanted to tell a realistic story about the human condition with cute animal visuals. If a heavy story has a cute looking surface, it mitigates the feeling of gloominess and expands the scope of the story. We had confidence that the dissonance brought out by this contrast would be compelling. And they were so right for this. You know, it's a concept in all of storytelling, but especially in animation. However, sometimes this practice is used in a way where it just kind of feels like a sugar coating. With Odd Taxi, not only is the sugar wrapped around the outside, it's imbued into the story itself. Big spoilers, but it's time to talk about the biggest twist. Every character is a human. We're just seeing the world from Odokawa's perspective. An accident coupled with a horrible upbringing caused him to see every single person as an animal. And like, this isn't just a side plot for Goroki to solve by the end of the show, it actively plays a role in the story. Odokawa can recognize pretty much anyone because he sees them with such a vastness of difference, which on multiple occasions gives him the upper hand. However, that's not the only twist that I want to talk about, as there is one part of this series that I still don't love. And that's the final scene. For context, the girl who went missing is none other than Mitsuya, who we see throughout the show. However, in a flashback storyline from Nikaido's perspective, we see that she was murdered by someone. The character we see is a replacement for her. And once people find the original Mitsuya's body, the fallout for the idol group is bad. In the final episode, where everyone's going back to life as it should be, you know, making an honest living, paying for their crimes, that sort of thing, we see Sakura Wadagaki, the replacement of Mitsuya's perspective, where we find out that it was all her. And the final shot is of her getting into Odokawa's cab after talking about dealing with the driver who knows too much. They set up the series as this complete package deal and left one little cliffhanger string so they could make a movie. And to show you how the movie did, here's some general scores of the original series, and here's some for the movie. The movie is not worth watching, I'll be honest. It's a recap of the series with like 8% of it being new content, and even then, some of the final story beats are told through pictures in the credits. The movie does solve little plot things in the show, but it would have been nice to see them resolved in the actual series. Those aren't that big of a deal, but the one out of the blue cliffhanger reveal, it brought the show down just a little bit for me. All that being said, it definitely doesn't ruin the show. It's still high quality storytelling, but I think one more episode could have fleshed a few things out. The visuals are a treat, the music is surprisingly wonderful, and the amount of auxiliary content around it makes for such a fascinating world to dive into. Odd Taxi is a treat, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested.